Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. We have a lot of news tonight. Some good, some bad, and some well, humanity had a good run. Uh, our first story is sadly we have lost another actor, uh, legendary actor Donald Sutherland, dead at 88. Son Kiefer plays or pays a tribute, a life well lived. Hollywood legend Donald Sutherland has died at 88. With a heavy heart, I tell you that my father, Donald Sutherland, has passed away, Kiefer Sutherland announced on X Thursday. I personally think one of the most important actors in the history of film. Never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly, he loved what he did and did what he loved. And no one can ask for more than that, a life well lived. The award-winning actor starred in a slew of hit movies such as The Hunger Games, The Dirty Dozen, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Ordinary People, MASH, Don't Look Now, Clute, and Animal House. According to Deadline, he died on Thursday in Miami after a long illness. Sutherland was never nominated for an Oscar, but he got an honorary Oscar in 2017. During his acceptance speech, he said, I wish I could say thank you to all the characters I played. Thank them for using their lives to inform my lives. A father of five, he was married from 1959 to 1966 to Lois Hardwick, from 1966 to 1970 to Shirley Douglas, with whom he had Kiefer and Rachel, and from 1972 until his death to actress Francine Rissette, with whom he had sons Roseph, Angus Redford, and Rogue. Born on July 17th, 1937. Thank God I get to share my birthday, even posthumously, with Donald Sutherland now, instead of only getting to share with David Hasselhoff, because that kind of sucked. In St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, Donald Sutherland had a career spanning over 60 years with more than 200 film and TV credits. He rose to stardom with 1970s MASH, playing the martini drinking Hawkeye. In a 1970 interview for CBC program Telescope, he said about his character in the movie, when you're in a field station like we were, it's insane to watch human bodies come fly into a camp that are wrecked for no reason at all. That kind of insanity created an environment, a kind of mini society that was in chaos. To a lot of people, that kind of represents society that we have today. Sutherland survived a serious illness as a child. In a 2011 interview with Esquire, Sutherland said, the first word I said was neck. My mother looked around and said, why did he say that? My sister said, he said neck. My neck was killing me. That was a sign of polio. One leg's a little shorter, but I survived. In 2018 interview on 60 Minutes, Sutherland opened up about his childhood insecurities. I went to her and I said, Mother, am I looking good? And my mother looked at me and went, your face has character, Donald. And I went and hid in my room for at least a day, he recalled. Oh, when we try to be nice as moms and it still goes terribly. When Anderson Cooper asked if his mother's words stayed with him, Sutherland quipped, not really, just for, 65, 66 years. In the 1978 comedy classic Animal House, Sutherland played a college professor who smokes pot with his students and had an affair with one. He was reportedly given a choice between taking the fee of either 2% of the film's gross or $35,000 and opted for the latter. However, the film went on to become one of the most successful comedies of all time, grossing over $500 million to date. About filming that movie, he told Esquire, Quote, "My ass was in Animal House." John Lattis said he filmed it only for rushes. He promised my wife that he wouldn't put it in the film, but he did put it in the film, and my wife never spoke to him again. In his 1973 movie, Don't Look Now, was also controversial for an infamously risque scene. Sutherland won a Golden Globe for the television movie Path to War and an Emmy and Golden Globe for the miniseries Citizen X. His extensive television credits also include Trust, Dirty Sexy Money, and Pillars of the Earth. In a 2020 interview with Hugh Grant for Interview magazine, Sutherland said, "I'm nervous all the time. For me, the camera is either a voyeur or a lover. If it's your lover, it shares your soul. You can give it your purity over and over again, and it'll embrace your heart. If it's a voyeur, then it's just effing paparazzi." He also said he used to change scripts. "Every once in a while, my characters take off in the middle of a film. They don't say what they're supposed to say, they lead me around by the nose." He added, "I change the text on every film. I write it down in the final draft, send a copy to the writer, and they approve it, and then we send it to the director. I don't interfere with anyone else's lines, but I try to make lines that I've given fit my mouth. I don't change the intent of the scene, just my words and my mouth." Late in life, he had a career resurgence playing the tyrannical President Snow in Hunger Games movies, which came out between 2012 and 2015 and are ongoing with Dear God, another prequel. Ew. They're making a prequel trilogy. Y'all, Hollywood, stop before I have to get a lawyer and make you stop. Sutherland told GQ in 2014 that he sought out the role. "No one asked me to do it. I wasn't offered it. I like to read scripts, and it captured my passion. I wrote them a letter. The role of the president had maybe a line in the script, maybe two. Didn't make any difference. I thought it was an incredibly important film, and I wanted to be a part of it," he said. He added, "I thought I could wake up an electorate that had been dormant since the 70s. I hadn't read the books, to be truthful. I was unaware of them, but they showed my letter to the director, Gary Ross, and he thought it would be a good idea if I did it." When Anderson Cooper asked him about finding inspiration in his 60 Minutes interview, Sutherland said, "I don't find it, it finds me. I mean, I will read it and suddenly it starts turning around inside me, and then it gets violent, and then it gets loving, and and it's an extraordinary thing. It gets more and more exciting. It's delicious." He really was an artsy soul. Sutherland is survived by his wife, Francine, sons Rogue, Rosef, Angus, Kiefer, and daughter Rachel, and four grandchildren. So I am sorry for the family and all of his fans who, lost someone that maybe they felt like they grew up with in the movies. We all have kind of those actors that were, young or pretty much our age at the right times. And you know, those are the kind of things that could really bring you in, and he was an exceptionally good actor. He does seem a little he has a process. Look, the characters I have entire headcanon, so I get what he's saying. I understand him, uh, but truly, the world has lost a really good actor. Uh A semi driver in a deadly Colorado crash is, well, surprise, surprise, an illegal immigrant who was deported from the US many times, ICE said. I mean, it's almost like there is a trend of people who don't really care about the laws, uh, giving F all, care about maybe doing dangerous things like driving semis. The man accused of wrecking a semi along the highway in Colorado last week, killing one person and injuring another, is an illegal immigrant who has a long history of removal from the United States, authorities said. Ignacio Cruz Mendoza, 47, of Mexico, is facing reckless driving and homicide related charges in connection with the June 11th crash. Mendoza was hauling a load of steel pipe on Highway 285 near Conifer when he lost control of the semi, sending it rolling onto its side as it veered off the road, Colorado State Patrol CSP said. The load of pipe and angle iron spilled out of the semi and onto five other vehicles. One person was killed and another seriously injured. But Mendoza was not injured. The wreckage blocked the highway in both directions, leaving it closed for more than 12 hours as authorities worked to clear the roadway. Cruz Mendoza was arrested and booked into the Jefferson County Jail. Uh, Colorado State Patrol says he doesn't have a local address. A spokesperson for ICE confirmed that Cruz Mendoza has a long history of removal to Mexico, stretching back more than 2 decades. ICE first became aware of Cruz Mendoza on April 2002 when he was arrested on local charges in Jefferson County, Oregon, the ICE spokesperson said. An immigration judge ordered Cruz Mendoza removed to Mexico on May 29th, 2002. Since then, he's been removed from the U.S. or voluntarily returned to Mexico 16 times, ICE said. ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, Denver, has reviewed Cruz Mendoza's arrest with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and lodged a detainer to be notified of his possible release. Online court records show that Cruz Mendoza remains in custody. His next court appearance is scheduled for July 30th. I do wonder how he was able to get a, commercial driver's license, being undocumented or unwelcome, whatever the hell words I am supposed to say. I don't understand the company that hired him without one of those, citizenship chests, uh, should be held liable for this. I mean, it really is quite infuriating that companies are still taking advantage of the low wages that they can offer people, uh, like this particular gentleman, and facing no consequences. So I hope that that's an avenue that the family looks at because this is absolutely ridiculous. Um, in apparently, uh, somewhat terrifying, and let me see if I can start this over. You guys won't be able to hear sound, but you can see this particular, these two cyclists. Again, if a sport requires you to wear spandex, but yeah, I mean, that was a pretty, hard crash. And to be hit on a bicycle, I can't imagine the kind of injuries that this gentleman's going to have. But a Texas cyclist, 69 years old, was mowed down and brazenly hit by a suspected drunk driver, and that drunk driver is ID'd as an American Airlines worker. Uh, I mean, I kind of feel bad for the airline sector. I mean, y'all just cannot get a good news story in. I mean, you can't get, a Captain Sully miracle on the Hudson. All all that we've been getting lately out of the airline industry is, well, uh, our bad. A retired physician is lucky to be alive and credits his bike for saving his life after he and another cyclist were mowed down in a brazen hit and run. I mean, I agree with Mass. That looks intentional. That doesn't look like oh, I didn't see them. They popped out of nowhere. I mean, this looks like intentional attempted assault or homicide, depending on how prosecutors want to look at it. Benjamin Highlander, a 31-year-old cargo team member at American Airlines, is accused of running over cyclist Tom Jeppart, 69, and Deborah Eads, 65, who are part of a group of bikers riding around Dallas Fort Worth International Airport around 6 p.m. Highlander was seen rapidly approaching the riders with his white Subaru Forester, initially striking Eads before clipping Gephardt's back tire, which launched him into the left lane until he fell into the road. All of a sudden, something pushes me from behind, Gephardt told KDFW. Then I could feel myself falling from the right, and that's pretty much the last thing I remember. Gephardt said he lost consciousness for a few minutes in the horrifying crash. Doctors performed a CT scan on his brain and diagnosed him with a concussion. I don't feel that I'm mentally 100%. An injury to the left hamstring and a fractured rib on the back side, he told the outlet. I was unconscious for a number of minutes, he said. I guess some people thought I wasn't breathing. Highlander is captured on footage allegedly driving over the motionless Gephardt's leg. I mean, that isn't allegedly. You have the still shot, you guys. I understand for legal purposes you have to say allegedly, and I'm not going to keep that on at too much, but this is the allegedly intoxicated individual who decided to take out two bikers because reasons. I don't know. Uh, just so lucky it happened to be my thigh. I think the bike kind of elevated the car a little bit, he added. Gephardt was rushed to Baylor Scott White Medical Center in Grapevine, 5 miles west of the crash, where he was treated for a severe laceration, according to CBS News Texas. Gephardt, who has since been released from the hospital, said he's just overall amazingly lucky that I'm still alive and plans to continue writing. Eads was treated at the scene for a severe laceration. Oh, somehow I think you drank all those. I don't believe they probably came empty. Uh, Investigators found 6 cans of Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA in the backpack of Highlander's car. And Coors Light, because, you can't have a fun night out trying to take out pedestrians without at least 8 beers in you. Several cyclists chased after Highlander to a Shell gas station, telling him to return to the crash scene. Highlander attempted to speak to one of the injured cyclists, shouting, "I'm sorry," but was pulled away by an officer on the scene. Investigators found 6 cans of Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA in the backpack of Highlander's car in a backpack in Highlander's car, and 2 cans of Coors Light in the grass near the parked SUV. Highlander failed a field sobriety and breathalyzer test, according to Fox 4, citing the police. While talking to officers, Highlander allegedly mentioned he was drinking beer for about an hour before the crash in Grapevine, but the number of drinks changed throughout the interview. Highlander was charged with 2 counts of intoxication assault with a vehicle causing serious bodily injury, accident involving injury, and driving while intoxicated with a blood alcohol concentration greater than 0.15, according to jail records reviewed by the Post. He's being held at the Tarrant County Correction Center on a $36,000 bond. American Airlines told KTVT that Highlander is being withheld from service. I mean, we need to get a Canton crash reconstructionist out here and see if the physicsology was, within bounds. Absolutely insanity. Um, I almost have to give this woman credit. I am I am somewhat impressed with her ability to come up with Well, and not at all plausible story, but probably a very plausible story when she was hammered. After a U-Haul van takes a plunge into grandfather's pool, a fully clothed woman claims she was just out here swimming after 2 a.m. with a U-Haul in the pool, as you do, with the lights still on. I mean, she tried it, and ma'am, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I just think that Trooper Paul, uh, isn't going to be able to fix this crash reconstruction with his creative math for you. Two suspects who tried allegedly to steal lottery tickets from a come and go convenience store in Oklahoma before leading cops on a chase around 2 a.m. earlier in June ended up in arrest. Uh, arrested after a U-Haul van crashed into a stranger's pool, and the body cam footage aired on the local news was somehow even more absurd than you would expect. The accused driver, 39-year-old Destiny Maisha Livingstone, and her 31-year-old co-defendant, Casey Allen Haig, each faced charges of first-degree robbery, fugitive from justice, and eluding a police officer, Creek County jail records reviewed by Law and Crime show. But Livingston, a Kansas woman having facing a bench warrant in the Sunflower State for failure to appear in a drug possession, theft, and forgery case, is additionally accused in Oklahoma of driving on the wrong side of a divided roadway in Sapupla and causing malicious injury or destruction of property in connection with a pool crash incident of June 9th. Portions of the body cam video aired by local CBS affiliate KOTV first showed the police department officers responding to the come and go store after 2 a.m. on June 9th. There, a man emerged from the store and pointed authorities in the right direction. Police engaged in a miles-long pursuit of the U-Haul van, whose driver apparently made the ill-fated decision to drive down a dead-end street, smashing through a fence and ultimately plunging the vehicle into a pool some 7 minutes later. Decidedly not the jackpot suspects allegedly sought. The homeowner, a grandfather identified as Roy Foote in a prior KOTV story, reportedly said he was minding his own business late at night and watching TV in bed when he heard police sirens outside, only to learn soon after that his pool was wrecked to the point of being unusable. Uh, the cops, I mean, this, she's like, "No, we were just here to swim." The cops, asked me if I had a friend that was a black woman swimming in my pool, and I go, "No, I don't." This is a direct quote. "No, I don't have any black people swimming in my pool this late at night." Oh my gosh. Oh, for Foote reportedly said, adding that his pool was polluted by oil as a result of the U-Haul crash. The video showed that when cops questioned Livingstone about what she was doing in the pool and whether anyone there knew anything about the U-Haul, she replied, "I'm telling you, I don't know. I was out here swimming in the early hours of the morning, at a stranger's home," as you do. I mean, who else doesn't take their U-Haul van, park it in the pool at their neighbor's house? I mean, that's every Wednesday. Um, Oddly, the officer was unconvinced. He remarked that it seemed odd that Livingstone would be swimming fully clothed. Look, she's a very modest woman. Don't don't modesty shame her. KOTV said roughly an hour later, cops discovered that there was someone else in the U-Haul, Casey Haig. Haig had allegedly tried and failed to hide in the woods nearby. As the two were arrested and booked, Haig allegedly falsely claimed to have the name Samuel Steele, which may explain the identity theft charge listed in his jail records. These two are like, we're the best criminals. The cops are totally going to buy this. As for Destiny Maisha Livingstone, Oklahoma court records indicate that there was a felony child neglect case issued against her in Kay County back on December 31st, 2020, the day the arrest warrant was issued. The docket reviewed by Law and Crime shows no activity in the case since then. But neither the dormant neglect case nor the crash case mark the end to Livingston's legal issues, which include allegations of another driving related offense in Kansas dating back to December 2023, as well as felony drug possession charges. Um, I mean, look, it she just has her arrest record is simply a long resume of her being able to not drive. Yikes, ma'am, seriously. Do better. Like, just do better. Let's see here. Oklahoma jail records say both Haig and Livingstone are scheduled to appear in court on the morning of June 25th. First-degree robbery in the Sooner State is defined as the following: when, in the course of committing the theft, the defendant 1. Inflicts serious bodily injury upon the person, 2. Threatens a person with immediate serious bodily injury, 3. Intentionally puts a person in fear of immediate serious bodily injury, or 4. Commits or threatens to commit a felony upon the person. Well, I mean, I think they could have sold it just a little better if they had some beach towels. Audio audio coffee, I think you're right. I think had they brought some beach towels and some sunblock, everyone would have bought the story. Uh, in Where's this watch been? And how did you believe it was eaten by cows? And how is this a story? Watch believed to have been eaten by a cow turns up 50 years later. A British farmer was reunited with his Rolex watch 50 years after it was believed to have become a meal for a hungry cow. James Steele, 95, said he bought the Rolex shortly after his 21st birthday in 1950, but he lost it about 20 years later while working on his Shropshire, England farm. Steele said he searched the fields for the watch, but it would only lead his only lead was a nearby cow. The cow could have eaten it with a mouthful of grass, the vet said. Steele told the BBC. The watch has now resurfaced 50 years later after Steele's son gave treasure hunter Liam King permission to use his metal detector to search for old coins on the property. It is unclear whether the watch, which was has now has a green tint to its face, had indeed passed through a bovine's digestive tract. I mean, I don't know, Rolex. I think this might be a selling key like Rolex. Elegance you can see, and, craftsmanship that can weather the cow's system. Look, you'll figure out a catchy thing to do in marketing, but I think this is definitely a sell point. I was quite pleased because I never thought I would see the watch again, Steele said, but I have it now. I only have half the bracelet, the other half must have disintegrated. He said the watch is not in working order, but it did avoid rusting over the years. Steele said he doesn't have a plan to get the watch repaired as it would be a costly endeavor, but he's glad to have it back as a keepsake. I mean, hey, heck if Swatch Watch did a it can pass through a cow. I might be tempted, but yeah, I'm not gonna buy a Rolex. Um, Oddly enough, apparently, accusing your friend of summoning Bigfoot to unalive you, so you had to do, the unaliving first in a preemptive pre-Bigfoot strike, did not work as a defense. Uh, I know you guys are going to be shocked. A 55-year-old man in Oklahoma will spend the rest of his life behind bars for assaulting and strangling his friend to death, claiming he did it because the victim had, quote, summoned Bigfoot, end quote, to kill and eat him. Uh, Pontotoc County District Court Judge C. Stephen Kessinger on Tuesday ordered Larry Doyle Sanders to serve a sentence of life in a state correctional facility without the chance of parole for the 2022 slaying of Jimmy Knighton, court records reviewed by Law and Crime shows. Sanders in April was found guilty on one count of first degree murder in Knighton's death following a non jury bench trial before Kessinger. As previously reported by Law and Crime, agents with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, OSBI, on July 10th responded to a request for assistance from the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, the Pontotoc County Sheriff's Office, regarding a possible homicide. Authorities said Sanders had confessed that he and Knighton uh, on July 9th were noodling in South Canadian River when a, quote, confrontation ensued. Sanders allegedly admitted to striking and strangling Knighton, ultimately unaliving the other man who was reportedly his friend. Noodling is a type of fishing in which a person submerges themselves in a body of water and uses their bare hands to catch a fish, typically a catfish, by sticking their arm into the fish's mouth. Y'all, absolutely not. Mo would have to be at least a full 12 pack of White Claws in. This goes against everything that my slightly neurotic brain tells me not to do, which is submerge myself fully in murky water and put my arm willingly into any animal's mouth. It's just a no go for me. Sheriff's deputies said that when they first responded to the July 9th call, they arrived as Sanders was telling a member of his family that he had just killed Knighton. Sanders then spoke to detectives and blamed the attack on Knighton, calling Bigfoot. So his statement was that Mr. Knighton had summoned Bigfoot to come unalive him. That's why he had to unalive Mr. Knighton, Sheriff John Christian said. Sanders took the stand in his defense during the murder trial. Oh my God, do we have footage of this? This is a trial we need to do for Legal Shenanigans Theater. I wonder if they did. I'll have to look up this one, but I definitely hope that we have this particular Bigfoot summoning, uh, self defense, because I need this testimony aired uh, live on television. What the actual hell? Um, he testified that he and Knighton were in the river when he saw a 12-foot Bigfoot downstream. He claimed that Knighton had kept telling him to go after a fish, which made Sanders think that Knighton was going to try to drown him and feed him to Bigfoot. I I need to know how many beers were consumed, or moonshine, whiskey. If I just need to I need all of this to make a little bit of sense. Later that afternoon, Sanders and Knighton then got into a physical altercation that ended with Knighton dead. Sanders' defense attorney argued that Sanders was acting in self defense and merely trying to regain control of the situation, not end Knighton's life. According to a report from Oklahoma CBS affiliate KXII. I mean, This poor that's it. I'm talking to Sal. We are getting the transcripts of this trial because we might do a legal shenanigans dramatic reading because the poor schmuck of a defense attorney that had to say, "Your Honor, my client contends that his friend was going to use his Bigfoot summoning powers to give Bigfoot uh, a chance to become a well, I guess could Bigfoot wouldn't be a cannibal if he well, let's just say and then he was gonna feed him to Bigfoot. Um, quote, "Yes, there was a monster in the woods that night, but it wasn't Bigfoot, it was Larry Sanders," District Attorney Eric Johnson told KXII after Sanders was convicted. You know, I mean, it has been an interesting year. I could almost imagine Bigfoot being summoned as a weapon of mass distraction. Heck, the way things are going in some, political circles, they might let us know if there's actually aliens to keep us from worrying about normal things. In Thank goodness this is not my child, mostly because I don't know I could if I could afford jeans for this guy, not to mention the special order shoes. A 7-foot 9-inch Florida recruit is about to make college basketball history. Oliver Rolks or makes Zach Edey look like Muggsy Bogues. An incoming Florida basketball freshman, Royks has gone viral in recent days after internet sleuths discovered his bio page on the school's athletic website that lists him as a staggering 7 foot 9 inches. That height would make the Montreal native the tallest college basketball player of all time, passing former 7 foot 8 inch Florida Tech and Mountain State center Paul Sturgis, according to Fox News. Oliver has previously entered the Guinness World Record book in 2022 as the tallest living male teenager. As a child, Oliver would spend hours looking through his Guinness World Records book, studying the tallest people and comparing himself to every record holder, Guinness wrote in September 2021. Time will tell if Oliver can leave his mark on college basketball the way his fellow Canadian and 7 foot 4 inch two-time National Player of the Year, Eddie, did, but Oliver is going to turn some heads this year. You can't teach height, as they say. It's not every day you see a player that is 7 foot 9 inches tall. Uh, Edie brought several or plenty of eyes to the game because of his height and prowess. Just like other giants before him, he still fell 5 inches short of Oliver. Perhaps the most recognized skyscraper is the late Monte Boyle, who stood at 7 feet 6 inches, some say 7 feet 7 inches, while playing for Division II Bridgeport in 1980s before the Wizards drafted him in 1985. Holy Fazoli. That is just, I mean, I too could be good at basketball if I didn't have to jump. Sturgis played collegiately from 2007 to 2011 and set the previous record, although he did reach the Power 5 level like Oliver will this upcoming season. Um, he eventually played for the Harlem Globetrotters. The 7'6" Takeo Fall also became a viral sensation for UCF during the late 2010s before heading to the NBA in 2019 for a brief career with uh, Celtics and Cavaliers. Oliver, who played for IMG Academy in Florida, actually lists himself as 7 foot 7 inches on his Instagram page, while noting that he is 7 foot 9 inches with size 20 shoes on. 20 size 20? Those are flippin' skis. Holy fazoli's. Uh, the ballislife.com X account reported that the 18-year-old stood at 7 feet 5 inches 2 years ago before growing an inch last year and adding another inch this year. I could make a comment, but he's not even in college yet, so no. Oliver measured 6 foot 1 inches as an 8-year-old, 6 foot 11 inches in the sixth grade, and joined the 7 foot club before entering seventh grade, according to Florida. The 290-pound center went viral last year for posting a photo from 2018 of him towering over Nuggets guard Jamal Murray, who is listed as 6 foot 4. Congratulations to Jamal Murray for winning the the NBA championship. So, I mean, I just feel bad for his poor mother. Y'all know every daggone time she bought some pants, this boy came home flooding like the very next day. She must have gotten really good at taking that bottom hem out and just pretending it was a fashion choice. Because y'all, there would be some patches or some ribbon if the boys end up that tall. Oliver is listed as a 3-star prospect by 247sports.com, ranking 305th nationally and 56th amongst centers. ED2 was considered a marginal Canadian prospect coming out of IMG Academy before blossoming into one of the most dominant college players ever and a likely first round draft pick. So there you go. He's just super de duper tall. Good luck to you doing tall people stuff. And if you ever are feeling froggy and would like to work on, I don't know, dusting and or cobwebs, just contact me on my email. It's under my personal stuff. But, I'm just saying, if you ever get tired of the NBA and want to, personally, just dust the walls and the ceiling for me, totally fine with me. Got some ceiling fans that I'm too short for. Oh. Tonight's news has got a lot of, car accidents. Sometimes it just works out that way. Survivors of a New Hampshire motorcycle crash that killed 7 urge a judge to keep trucker off the road. Days before the fifth-year anniversary of a crash that killed 7 motorcyclists, relatives and friends urge New Hampshire officials Wednesday not to allow the trucker to get involved back on the state's roadways. A jury in 2022 found Vladimir Zolkowski not guilty of multiple manslaughter and negligent homicide counts stemming from the June 21st, 2019 collision in Randolph that killed 7 members of the Jarheads Motorcycle Club, an organization of Marine Corps veterans and their spouses in New England. An administrative law judge for the Department of Safety in May said that Vladimir is subject to state law that allows his license to be suspended for up to 7 years. A hearing Wednesday was held to determine the length of the license suspension. A decision is expected in the next 15 days. The state is asking that Vladimir's license be suspended through 2031. The trucker's attorney wants the suspension to end now by backdating the start to 2019 and spending the final 2 years of the maximum for good behavior. Wednesday's hearing was dominated by witnesses who knew those who died or rode with them that day. They recounted the devastation wrought by the loss of parents, good friends, and demanded that Vladimir not get his license back. Many cited his history of collisions and driving infractions leading up to the 2019 crash. Someone that caused such incredible, horrible pain to so many people has the audacity to say, I want my privilege back, said David Bark, a member of the Jarheads. It's not a constitutional right to drive a car. To operate a motor vehicle on a public access highway, this is a privilege. Don Brinkley, who was riding with the motorcyclist when the crash happened, was among several people who blamed Vladimir for it despite him being found not guilty. She recalled, quote, seeing bodies on fire, pieces of my friends scattered on the road, and said that Vladimir has scarred her forever. You don't deserve to operate any type of vehicle in my state of New Hampshire, she said. You don't deserve to be walking around free while families and loved ones, excuse me, that fell victim that day shared the heartbreaking, horrific memories. David Hitz, representing the state, argued for the longest suspension possible, citing Vladimir's history of crashes and driving infractions. It's clear that the members of the traveling public in New Hampshire would be protected and must be protected to the maximum extent possible by suspending his non resident operating privilege for as long as the state allows, Hilt says. Vladimir, appearing by video with his lawyer, expressed his deepest condolences to the victims of the crash and their family and said he'd been sober for 5 years. At this point, I don't do drugs, I don't drink or smoke. I live a good, healthy lifestyle. Well, isn't that special for you, sir, that you get that chance? Because, the people you unintentionally unalived or whatever nice words we're putting in over you running some dude over, uh it'll happen. The child, I have sort of trained the rest of the kiddos that, like, if my door is closed, I'm streaming. This one, he's like, "Mom, I found you a cat." And good evening, Slidey Pie, joining us over on Rumble. Uh But the sheer audacity to talk about your recovery in such a way, and I could be reading this in the most petty terms because I am, so could it really isn't an operative word in this sentence. Read am. I am being petty, but you want to get people dedicated to you never getting your license back. You talk about yourself doing well after the victims have all talked about losing their friends, their spouses, their, kids losing their parents. You're going to look like a real piece of crap person. His lawyer, Earl Wingate III, urged the decision on the length of the suspension not to be made on emotion, but rather the facts. Vladimir's Massachusetts license was automatically suspended in New Hampshire after his arrest following the crash, but he is still seeking to get it reinstated. At his trial, prosecutors argued that Vladimir repeatedly swerved back and forth before the collision and told police that he'd caused it. At the time, his license should have been revoked because he had been arrested in Connecticut on a drunken driving charge in May 2019. Connecticut officials were alerted to the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, but his license wasn't suspended due to a backlog of out-of-state notifications about driving offenses. The Connecticut case is pending. Vladimir, who came to the U.S. as a child from Ukraine and had permanent residency status, was detained by U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement after the 2022 verdict. A judge ordered his deportation last year, but the U.S. paused repatriation flights to Ukraine due to the war with Russia and authorized temporary protected status for qualified Ukrainians. Well, there you go. But, sir, you are probably going to prison on the drunk driving offense. Maybe, just maybe, you should have gotten glasses that fit your face. What, that look is freaking me out, guys. Uh, in justice being served, well, sort of. San Jose is to pay a record settlement of $12 million to a man exonerated in a 2002 gang shooting. San Jose will pay $12 million to a man who was in prison for 17 years for a drive-by shooting he did not commit, the largest settlement paid by the city in a police misconduct case. The settlement, approved Tuesday by the city council, came after a federal judge rejected the city's arguments to dismiss a federal lawsuit filed by Lionel Rubalcava, who was convicted of a 2002 gang shooting. Members of the council approved the settlement but did not issue a statement or comment on the payment. Oh, sorry, I lost my place. Okay. Lionel had been identified by three witnesses, but was freed and exonerated in May 2019 after they recanted and cell phone tracking evidence suggested he was driving to Hollister at the time of the shooting. In the lawsuit, Lionel's attorneys argued that police officers Tupoi Fana, Joe Perez, and Steven Spillman ignored evidence that exonerated Lionel and deliberately misrepresented witness statements that led to the conviction. In her ruling against the city's request to dismiss the case, Judge Beth Lobson Friedman wrote that a jury would infer that the three San Jose officers falsified police reports for the purpose of depriving Lionel of constitutional rights. The case was set to go to trial in August. Given the clear evidence of serious police misconduct, we would have put on at trial. The city of San Jose made the right move today, said Amelia Green, one of Lionel's attorneys. Not only should our client never have been prosecuted, the city should have long ago accepted responsibility for Lionel's wrongful conviction. After his release from Pleasant Valley State Prison, Lionel sued the city, arguing that his civil and due process rights were violated by detectives after they ignored evidence pointing to his innocence. We are supposed to be able to trust police officers for our protection and safety, Lionel said in a statement. In my case, the San Jose Police Department singled me out and framed me for a crime I did not commit. Lionel was arrested 3 days after the April 5th, 2002 shooting of a 19-year-old Raymond Rodriguez, who was left partially paralyzed. Police and prosecutors argued during the trial that the shooting had been prompted by a gang rivalry. But one of the witnesses recanted their testimony at trial, and attorneys for Lionel argued that the motive police suggested for the shooting did not make sense because he and Rodriguez allegedly belonged to separate Norteño street gangs and were not rivals. Rodriguez and his mother told the detective that they did not think that Lionel had been the shooter and that Rodriguez had been targeted by a rival Sereno gang members. Lionel was freed after the Northern California Innocence Project at Santa Clara University School of Law picked up his case. The Santa Clara District Attorney's Office then ordered its Conviction Integrity Unit to re-examine the case. The other witnesses also recanted their testimony. The office asked the Superior Court to vacate Lionel's conviction in 2019. Lionel was represented by attorneys with Newfield, Schreck, Bruston, Hoffman, and Frenberger. Uh, Neither Lionel or the victim were served by the corrupt police work that led to an innocent man being prosecuted and the true shooter going free, said attorney Nick Bruston. Lionel's case is yet another example of how racism infects the legal system. Now, I would go with that, except I read some not super John Smith, pale, like Mo names for the police. So, I mean, let's not attribute to racism that which could just be police like corruption and whatever. So, I agree with this man getting, payment back and everything, but let's not corruption, and maybe they just didn't want to do any more searching for these people that actually did this. But I will say that attributing everything to an ism that isn't corruption is, well, a little bit of a stretch to me when I read names that definitely do not indicate, like, Sven Jorgensen. Okay. A hiker's legs went totally numb on a mountain hike, and the surprise culprit is remarkably common. Hiking out in the woods. California rescuers descended on the Sierra Nevada mountains last week to rescue a hiker who had suddenly lost feeling in her legs from a mysterious attacker. The woman had stopped around 6:30 p.m. to fetch water from a creek along the park's Taboose Pass when she felt a sting that she thought was a spider bite. Afterwards, she was unable to feel the skin on her legs and could not continue her hike down. Inyo County search and rescue officials said in a statement. The unidentified woman used the last of her cell phone's battery juice to call for help. She relayed her coordinates just before the device died. The Inyo County search and rescue pushed a little wheeled leader the 1.7 miles between the trailhead and the immobilized hiker, but came just a quarter mile short of the victim when the trail became too rough. The team stashed the litter and forged ahead until they found the paralyzed woman, who they very slowly walked down the tricky section of the trail while ensuring her safety with ropes. The entire rescue operation took more than 5 hours. In the days after the scary encounter, medical officials ruled that the bite wasn't from a spider at all, nor was it even a bite. Rescuers believed that the individual who needed rescuing was stung by stinging nettles located on the overgrown trail, Lindsay Stein of the county sheriff's office told the Post. In an attempt to avoid piles of snow on Mather Pass, the hiker had inadvertently strolled through a patch of stinging nettles on the Taboose Pass Trail, which is not regularly maintained and only suitable for high clearance vehicles. The leaves and young stems of stinging nettles are fitted with stinging hairs that are tipped with formic acid and other irritants that can cause irritation upon puncturing the skin, according to Britannica. If touched, these needle-like hairs inject the stinging acid into the skin, triggering a burning, tingling sensation and an itchy rash. Fortunately, the symptoms do not last longer than 24 hours, the sheriff's office confirmed. That the hiker is believed to be recovering well. Now, no, okay, no, you're not eating food. Dingus has decided that he is, he's part garbage disposal. I I didn't think I would have to contend with another animal that wanted to steal my food after Fry because none of the other cats no, Dingus is like, "Oh, if you're eating some, might I have a bite too?" I mean, I have had to find all new places to hide food because this kitten is like, "Uh, out, out, young man." In a sad bit of news, but I did wanna honor this heroic dog because we might not like police all the time, but uh, police doggos, like, Turner and Hooch is probably the only sad doggo movie I will ever rewatch because I love that movie. Uh, but definitely wanted to give this hero dog, a little bit of honor, uh, for his service. For the second time this month, a police dog has been killed while trying to help arrest a suspect in South Carolina. A Richland County Sheriff's Department dog named Wick was struck and killed by a car on Interstate 77 early Thursday when his leash broke and he chased a suspect who ran across the highway, Sheriff Leon Lott said. Deputies had been chasing the suspect after discovering him driving a stolen car. He ran after officers, flattened his tires using stop sticks, Lott said. Wick's leash broke apart after he jumped over a barrier, something that Lott said Thursday afternoon he has never heard of happening to a police dog. Uh, Investigators are still looking for the suspect, the sheriff said. Wick was a 3-year-old Belgian Malinois and had worked with the sheriff's department for over a year. Wick's body was draped with an American flag, and dozens of officers, many with police dogs sitting by their sides, saluted as he was taken from the emergency vet to the funeral home in a procession Thursday morning. At least 6 states, including South Carolina, had bills in their legislature this year with stiffer penalties for hurting or causing the death of police dogs. Though critics of the proposals point out the long history of harassment involving police dogs in marginalized communities and the serious dog bite injuries during the arrest. Wick's death came just 9 days after investigators said State Law Enforcement Division police dog Koba was shot and killed as officers tried to arrest a suspect wanted for burglary in Newberry County home. The suspect was, or in the shooting, was then wounded by officers, authorities said. State agents held a memorial service for Koba on Wednesday. Last September, another dog, Rico, was shot and killed by Johns Island or on Johns Island by a hiding suspect wanted for randomly shooting at people, responding police officers the day before. Investigators said police dogs become the part of their handlers' families and the law enforcement family. Their willingness to risk their lives so human officers can avoid threats deserves high commendation, said State Law Enforcement Chief Mark Dingus. You're not going to eat my dinner. Nice try. Deserves high commendation, said the State Law Enforcement Division Chief Mark Keel, whose voice broke with emotion several times as he spoke about Koba on Wednesday. These canines are fearless, and we in law enforcement introduce them and we deploy them into very dangerous situations. We deploy them into dark rooms and homes where we don't know people are hiding, Keel said. Bagpipes played as the memorial service began. Governor Henry McAllister was there to pay his respects, as he did at a service for Rico last October. Photos of Koba were shown on screen as soft music played. The dog in the shopping cart, selfies with his handler, Agent Cole Powell, training shots as he attacked a heavily padded suspect, and a final snapshot of Powell on a knee head bowed, his arm gently resting on Koba's body, draped with an American flag. Powell said he was thankful for Koba's sacrifice and that his memories of the dog will last forever. Oh, look, it's smoking in here. It's smoking. I'm not crying. You're not about to cry. Dingus, get away from my food. My youngest one is like, "No one's smoking in here." I was like, "Well, it was sort of trying to." I was like, "Never mind. If I have to explain it to you, it's not funny anymore." Um,
And I did it in a weird voice.
Thank you, Griffin. Tonight, the Mo and Griffin show. Dogs become a part of the fabric of the law enforcement team. Lieutenant Keith Tower, who oversees the agency's dog tracking team, said Wednesday. When he entered that house, Koba put himself between us and evil, Thrower said. Evil didn't win that day because Koba was there to protect his teammates. And those are some effing Manson lamps, y'all. This chick is a prosecutor who, y'all, I can't even. I shit you not, you're all my favorite turds. Had a dog cremated, bought Target pillows on taxpayers' dimes with funds meant for crime victims. This chick was responsible for law and order in her holy giblets, Georgia. What the hell is wrong with you? Authorities in Georgia have arrested an Atlanta prosecutor who allegedly used taxpayer funds meant to help crime victims to buy items for herself, such as a cremation for her dog, breakfast, and pillows from Target. A grand jury indicted Hall County Solicitor General Stephanie Woodard on 11 counts of theft by taking and 13 counts of false statements in writing. I mean, this is Georgia. Come on, y'all. We need to figure out if she was hanging out with the Manson family in the 70s. Y'all, she has the look of, oh gosh, squeaky frond. I mean, that is a squeaky frond, uh, that is just a Tate LaBianca waiting to happen. Let's see here. And Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr said in a press release, Woodard, on several occasions from July 2018 through September 2022, used funds from Hall County and the Prosecuting Attorney's Council of Georgia for personal expenses, according to Carr. She also allegedly attempted reimbursement for travel and continuing education classes that she didn't actually attend. Well, isn't that special? Those elected to uphold the law must operate honestly, ethically, and transparently. Anything less undermines our system, Carr said in a statement. Theft of taxpayer dollars and falsifying documents to cover up that theft are entirely unacceptable if you get caught. I mean, that's how I feel like Georgia plays now. Like, look, technically it's illegal, but that's only if you get caught. Woodard was tasked with prosecuting misdemeanor cases within the county, but now faces felony charges herself. Among the allegations, Woodard turned in a receipt from a breakfast restaurant claiming it was for abuse awareness when it was not. She said she was paying an expense related to law school admissions for a victim in a local youth program when it was really for someone else. Woodard requested reimbursement for costs relating to a court case, but it was actually to pay for cremation of her dog. She bought pillows for herself at Target and said they were for a victim. Atlanta Fox affiliate WAGA has been investigating Woodard's actions for years. The TV station even tracked down the person who cremated her dog. Rick Farmer of Precious Memories Crematoria gave a statement to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation about the 180 or $90 expense. It was paid to me for her dog. Sounds like she owes the county some money and a whole bunch of other people a big apology, Farmer told the outlet. Woodard's attorneys released a statement calling the indictment, quote, absurd and unfathomable. She absolutely committed no crime, but yet she has been viciously pursued by the GBI for years, the statement said. They have harassed her family, including her children, during which time the agents were aware of ongoing severe health issues. Yeah, those eyes are terrible. Like that's a health issue right there, ma'am. Holy flip. But to GBI Director Chris Hosey, the indictment shows no one is above the law. As a public official, Hall County citizens trusted solicitor Stephanie Woodard with their community's interests, he said in a statement. I mean, look, Georgia is insane. I don't know. But that's all for tonight. I am sending you guys over to Shizzy. I will be joining him for about an hour or so over there. I think he is doing something a little bit different tonight, so I'm not quite sure what we're getting into, but it will be fun. And that's always a good thing. So I will see you in the morning. Oh, sorry. I will see you guys in the morning, and it will be Friday, which will be great. So have a great evening. If I don't see you over at Shizzy's, get some good rest from Mama Mo. Just do it. Look, no one is going to shame you, least of all me, who is a person that would have a 7:30 bedtime if I could. Seriously. Good evening, you guys. I will see you in the morning. Bye.